As the saying goes, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. The influence and power that comes with being a Hollywood star can sometimes manifest as a sinister force, driving even the brightest stars to do some of the most unthinkable things. When the deeds are done, the law steps in and delivers justice to these once idolized figures. You're about to witness the reactions that these Hollywood stars gave when they were found guilty of their actions. Harvey Weinstein. Please don't sentence me to life in prison. I don't deserve it. Harvey Weinstein said these words as he came to the realization that he was facing the brutal side of the law in 2023. His plea may have been heartfelt, but it seemed like it was not enough to save him from bearing the brunt of his shocking actions. The year 2017 marked the beginning of Harvey Weinstein's fall from grace. In the wake of the Me Too movement, this producer, who was once a respected figure in Hollywood, became the primary focus of claims by several women in Hollywood. The claims against Weinstein came to public attention in October 2017 when investigative reports by the New York Times revealed decades of alleged misconduct. These reports certainly came as a shock to many, especially because most people didn't expect the producer to be involved in such acts. The revelations about the producer were brought to light through the stories of some well-known actresses like Ashley Judd, Gwyneth Paltrow, Angelina Jolie, and Rose McGowan, stories that left the world in a state of sheer disbelief. The similar pattern of their experiences with the producer made it difficult to believe that he was innocent. If anything, it seemed like he was not innocent of the charges. The women who shared their stories didn't leave out the details. They all recounted the experiences they had with him. No matter how uncomfortable the details were, they were determined to bring his actions to light. The allegations certainly painted a disturbing picture of Weinstein's disturbing behavior, unwanted advances, coercive acts, and misuse of his position of power. Most of the women claimed that he exploited his influential role in the entertainment industry to manipulate and silence his victims. As the revelations unfolded, a haunting question reverberated through the collective consciousness. Was this producer truly guilty, or was the claims a malevolent ploy to dismantle a revered figure? Shortly after, the legal system stepped in to judge the matter and to ensure that justice was served. On the 24th of February 2020, the court found him guilty of the charges. This meant that he was going to be sentenced to 23 years in prison. At that moment, the weight of his sins bore down upon him, and a chilling silence filled the room, broken only by the sound of the judge's words resonating through the air. As the damning verdict echoed, the producer stood before the court, his countenance mostly devoid of emotion, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. Whispers escaped his trembling lips as he turned to his legal team, desperately clinging to the belief that he was innocent. I am innocent, and how can this happen in America? His murmurs carried the weight of a shattered life, his words a desperate plea in the face of a harsh reality that unfolded before him. All through the reading of the verdict, he remained stoic, and it was said that it was hard for him to stand without his walker. Yet, despite his facade of resilience, the wheels of justice turned relentlessly. There was no escaping the inexorable path that had been set in motion. At that moment, his money, fame, and all the connections he had built over the years could not save him. He had to face the consequences of his actions. Harvey Weinstein began to serve his jail sentence when yet another victim of his took him to court. The producer was later sentenced to an additional 16 years for his acts in 2013. He was said to have attacked an actress in a hotel room in Beverly Hills. When he realized that the verdict may involve him spending the rest of his life in jail, he resorted to pleading, with the hopes of getting a lighter sentence. He was already 70 years old at the time, and he knew that the additional sentence will take away his chances of ever living a normal life. As the verdict was being read, the courtroom grew still as he sat motionless, his former glory a distant memory, shattered into irreparable fragments. The reality of his transformation from a revered figure to a symbol of infamy bore down upon him with crushing force, leaving him paralyzed by shock and the profound depths of his own disbelief. In that somber courtroom, the echoes of his downfall reverberated, reminding the world that even the mightiest can be brought to their knees when justice prevails. Bill Cosby. When several women began to speak up about the things Bill Cosby had done to them, people wondered, how could a beacon of laughter cast such a shadow of darkness? In the eyes of many, Bill Cosby was a cultural icon, a trailblazer who shattered racial barriers and opened doors for African American performers. As a result of his efforts and eventual career success, he inspired generations of artists and made them believe that their dreams were achievable. With his entertainment skills, he put smiles on the faces of many and was known to remain a household name for decades. But behind the dazzling facade, behind the laughter that echoed through living rooms, a shadow loomed, cloaked in secrecy and unspeakable deeds. In the year 2014, the world was shaken to its core as a chilling revelation emerged, whispered initially by comedian Hannibal Burgess in a stand-up routine. It was a claim that pierced the heart of Cosby's carefully constructed image, a single word that shattered illusions and set in motion a chain of events that would unravel the enigma of this celebrated icon. In the wake of that brave claims, a torrent surged forth, an avalanche of women, their voices rising above the noise, their stories intertwining like the strands of a dark tapestry. One by one, they stepped into the unforgiving spotlight, tearing away the mask of adoration that had shielded Cosby for far too long. Their claims echoed through the corridors of time, reaching back to the murky depths of the 1960s, unearthing long-buried secrets and exposing a pattern that sent shockwaves rippling through the entertainment world. Their stories were hauntingly similar, a symphony of pain and betrayal, stories of trust shattered, of innocence stolen, of drugged nights and violated bodies. Cosby, once a mentor, a confidant, and a friend, said to be of being the architect of their nightmares. Most of the women claimed that he was once their mentor, someone they looked up to before he revealed another side to him and betrayed the trust they once had for him. The breadth and depth of their collective trauma were overwhelming, with more than 60 women standing tall, their unified voices exposing the issues that lay buried beneath layers of fame and power. It wasn't long before a legal battle ensued and justice began to take its course. As expected, the media dissected every twist and turn. The public is torn between disbelief and outrage. How could the emblematic father figure, the laughter-inducing maestro, harbor such a dark and sinister secret? Was the very essence of Dr. Huxtable nothing more than an artifice, a carefully crafted illusion masking the true nature of a deeply troubled soul? Cosby, resolute and defiant, stood firm in his denial, proclaiming his innocence amidst the mounting storm of alleged claims. Yet the walls of his defense crumbled beneath the weight of relentless scrutiny. The sheer magnitude of the claims, the consistency in their details, the evidence that emerged like a relentless tide, each wave eroded the foundation of his protestations, exposing the chasm between the persona he presented to the world and the darkness that these women saw. In 2015, a ray of hope emerged for the victims as Andrea Constand, a former employee of Temple University, summoned her courage and brought forth charges against Cosby for a harrowing incident that had unfolded in 2004. The ensuing trial in 2017 held the nation captive, the air heavy with anticipation. But despite the impassioned pleas and the fervent prayers, the jury's deliberations fell short, resulting in a frustrating mistrial. The saga was far from over. There was an unfulfilled longing for closure, a need for justice to prevail. In a retrial in 2018, the jury found him guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in jail, and as the verdict was being read, Bill Cosby appeared unusually calm. His face was mostly expressionless. Although he didn't utter a word, one can only imagine the thoughts that were going through his mind. The once adored entertainer was now a convicted felon, facing the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. Outside the court, an army of his victims rejoiced, with tears of joy streaming down their faces. R. Kelly. When R. Kelly released the song I Believe I Can Fly, it was as though he was speaking directly to millions of people who needed the motivation to keep going despite the difficulties in life. But while the musician was inspiring many and healing the world with his songs, he was a completely different person behind closed doors. The truth sure does have a way of coming out. It all started when the stories of his inappropriate relationships with underage girls started to trickle into the public consciousness. People were shocked. The things that were being said didn't sound like things that the musician would do, especially because of the image he had created. How could a man who possessed a gift that could heal the world break so many women? The revelations raised unsettling questions about the man behind the music. His fans certainly could not believe what they were hearing. The storm hit with full force in 2002 when a now infamous videotape emerged. Its contents shocked the world and clearly showcased R. Kelly's alleged transgressions. The tape purportedly depicted him engaging in inappropriate acts with a minor. The revelation sent shockwaves through the music industry and ignited a legal battle that would span decades. His fans wanted to believe that he was innocent, but with each year came more revelations that would inevitably prove that he was not an innocent man. The claims against R. Kelly seemed to multiply, like weeds entangling his once sterling reputation. With tears streaming down their faces and fear in their voices, numerous women came forward, sharing their harrowing stories of manipulation and coercion. They spoke of a man whose alleged acts included preying upon vulnerable young women, using his fame and power as a weapon to control and dominate them. The person they spoke about seemed nothing like the R. Kelly that the world once knew. Soon enough, law enforcement agencies took action, and the musician was indicted on multiple charges in February 2019. In the wake of the legal battle, the musician kept on saying that he was innocent. He claimed that everything that was happening was some sort of planned act to bring him down. However, his words didn't drown the insurmountable evidence that kept on resurfacing, and in August 2021, his trial began. Although parts of the court proceedings were publicized, the case was handled delicately. It was in September 2021 that the justice system finally came to a verdict. The singer was sentenced to 30 years imprisonment, meaning that when he finally got out, he would probably be in his 80s. This sentence was way harsher than his lawyers expected, as they initially asked for 10 years, stating that R. Kelly was once a victim of such acts as well. R. Kelly's reaction to his sentence was not publicized, but previous videos of him in court showed that he was unhappy and in disbelief. Alison Mack. She was the very image of innocence. She looked like someone who could not hurt a fly. No one could have predicted the harrowing transformation that awaited Alison Mack in 2018. He once beloved actor, who was once celebrated for her prominent role in the series, Smallville, was called out for certain shocking revelations. It was said that the actress was part of a secret society responsible for some of the most heinous acts. It was within the somber confines of a Brooklyn courthouse in early 2018 that Mack stood, her countenance carrying the weight of disturbing allegations that had forever altered her image. Before things went south, the actress was applauded all over the world as a prominent figure in the entertainment industry, gaining widespread recognition for her portrayal of a beloved character in the popular series Smallville. With her skillful portrayal, she breathed life into the character, endearing herself to legions of devoted fans. Beyond her on-screen persona, Mack's genuine nature and warm demeanor endeared her to fans on a personal level. She was loved by many, not just got her acting skills, but also because of her warm aura. People also liked how bold and confident she was. Unfortunately, all the admiration went down the drain when revelations about her surfaced. The charges levied against her were deeply unsettling. They didn't sound like things that the actress would do. There were claims of orchestrating the manipulation of women, ensnaring them within the insidious clutches of the NXIVM self-empowerment group, where they were forced into becoming body slaves. The narrative that unfolded was one of dominance and the ruthless pursuit of personal gain, using her fame to deceive and manipulate women. The so-called organization appeared to be one centered on self-help and personal development, but it was far from this in reality. The actress was allegedly in charge of luring these women into the organization, branding them with certain initials, and manipulating them. Initially, she denied the claims that were made, but she later pleaded guilty, admitting to the things she had done to assist the group's leader. Alison Mack later pleaded guilty in 2019 to charges of manipulating women for Keith Raniere, the group's leader. When she was sentenced, she was filled with remorse and guilt. In her words, "I made choices I will forever regret." Although she couldn't turn back the hands of time, she tearfully apologized to the victims and apologized for her actions and the pain she caused them. Years have passed by, but when her name is mentioned, people can't help but remember her involvement with the secret society. Lori Loughlin. Love, they say, can be a dangerous thing. Lori Loughlin was acting out of love for her kids when she found herself on the wrong side of the law. Lori Loughlin, prior to her legal issues, was a well-known American actress and television personality. She gained fame for her roles in popular television series such as Full House and its spin-off Fuller House, where she portrayed the character Rebecca Donaldson Katsopoulos. Loughlin also appeared in various other television shows and movies throughout her career. In 2019, Lori Loughlin and her husband, fashion designer Massimo Giannulli, became embroiled in a high-profile legal case known as the College Admission Scandal, or Operation Varsity Blues. They were among several wealthy parents who were charged with conspiracy to commit mail fraud. The scandal involved a scheme orchestrated by William Rick Singer, a college admissions consultant who helped parents bribe college officials and coaches to secure admission for their children into prestigious universities. Loughlin and Giannulli were accused of paying $500,000 in bribes to have their two daughters admitted to the University of Southern California as crew recruits, despite neither of them participating in the sport. Throughout the legal proceedings, Lori Loughlin displayed a mix of reactions. Initially, she appeared confident and even signed autographs and engaged with fans outside the courtroom, seemingly unfazed by the charges. She pleaded not guilty and maintained her innocence throughout the early stages of the case. However, as the severity of the charges increased and the evidence against her mounted, Loughlin's countenance changed. The case received significant media attention, and the public scrutinized her actions closely. As public sentiment turned against her, she began to exhibit a more somber and remorseful demeanor. When the sentencing phase arrived, Lori Loughlin and her husband ultimately decided to change their pleas to guilty. In August 2020, Loughlin was sentenced to 2 months in federal prison, along with 2 years of supervised release, a $150,000 fine, and 100 hours of community service. Giannulli received a 5-month prison sentence. During the sentencing hearing, Lori Loughlin addressed the court and expressed remorse for her actions. With tears in her eyes, she apologized for her involvement in the scandal, stating that she acted out of love for her daughters and acknowledged that she had made a terrible mistake. Phil Spector. To the rest of the world, Phil Spector was a pioneering producer who used his unique style to transform the world of music, but all this changed on a somber day in November 2003. Prior to the incident, Phil Spector was known internationally as a highly influential and controversial figure in the music industry, known for his exceptional talent as a music producer and his unique wall of sound production technique. He rose to prominence in the 1960s and stood out for her creativity for decades. His work with numerous legendary musicians and groups, including the Ronettes, the Crystals, and the Righteous Brothers, showed just how talented he was. His collaborations with these artists produced timeless hits such as Be My Baby, Da Do Ron Ron, and You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin', which continue to be celebrated as classics to this day. Tragically, Phil Spector's life took a rather dark and unexpected turn in 2003 when he was convicted of the death of actress Lana Clarkson. In the early hours of February 3, 2003, tragedy struck the opulent mansion in Alhambra, California. The lifeless body of Clarkson, a 40-year-old starlet known for her appearances in B-movies like Barbarian Queen 2, The Empress Strikes Back, 1989, was discovered in the mansion's grand foyer. A haunting silence engulfed the scene, shattered only by the knowledge that a single gunshot wound had claimed her life. Earlier that fateful night, destiny wove Clarkson's path with Spector, a renowned music producer. Their encounter took place amidst the vibrant energy of the House of Blues in West Hollywood, where Clarkson worked as a hostess. Little did she know that this meeting would literally lead to the end of her life. As the night unfolded, Clarkson found herself irresistibly drawn to the enigmatic allure of Spector's presence. A magnetic force pulled her back to the depths of his mansion, a decision that sealed her tragic fate. When the authorities received the chilling 911 call, they descended upon the scene, their hearts heavy with trepidation. Clarkson's lifeless form lay before them, proof of the darkness that lurked within those luxurious walls. As they pieced together the fragments of the puzzle, a witness emerged from the shadows, Spector's loyal limo driver, who had been patiently waiting outside. His testimony painted a harrowing picture of a man emerging with a gun in hand, whispering those chilling words that would forever echo in their minds. I think I ended someone's life. In a bewildering twist, Spector himself would later claim that the actress's demise was nothing more than an accidental suicide. The enigma deepened, leaving the world to grapple with the truth obscured within the shadows of that fateful night. For his court appearances, the music pioneer wore mostly luxurious outfits and always had dramatic hairstyles on. He maintained claims of his innocence, and even with his access to some of the best defense lawyers, he couldn't avoid the verdict that fate had prepared for him. Convicted of second-degree consequences, Spector found himself imprisoned by the cords of his actions. The music producer, who was already approaching 70 years of age, was sentenced to over 19 years in prison. As the verdict was being read, Phil Spector was said to maintain a rather blank and emotionless look. Despite how life-altering the verdict was, his countenance remained an impassive mask, devoid of any trace of emotion. The life sentence he received served as the final movement, extinguishing the once brilliant notes of his career. Within the cold confines of a prison cell, his symphony of influence came to an abrupt end, his melodies silenced forever. These Hollywood stars certainly lost the respect they once had. Their stories serve as stark reminders that misusing the pedestal of fame and influence carries grave consequences. In the end, the truth will be unveiled and justice will inevitably take its course. If you've ever enjoyed any of Tom Cruise's roles, click on this video to see how his daughter is following in his footsteps.